Stereotype map of New England. Oh, nice. You know, as a resident of the old England, it's interesting to see if our successors haven't, you know, improved upon our past selves. Let's start off with Maine then. Stephen King. Okay, well, clearly fans of monarchy still. No civilization. People eat each other. Concerning if true. We personally didn't do that over here. Probably would have if it involved beans, but no. Massholes on vacation. I'm assuming that's some kind of slur towards people from Massachusetts. New Hampshire has the Alps. The south of the north, if that makes any sense. Hippie college students and Bernie Sanders. A superiority complex when it comes to maple syrup, despite being the exact same recipe. Massachusetts has witches. Well, they did anyway. Heroin. More heroin. Seasonal heroin. You know, Massachusetts really hasn't got its priorities straight. You know, when we recommended them a nice warm mug of tea, they stuck it in the ocean. But if it's heroin, you don't see them throwing that in the ocean. Probably for the best, to be honest. We don't really want that in our... No, that wouldn't do good in our seafood. You know, this map was truly drawn by a New Englander as well because of the hatred towards New York. Countries in Europe whose national animals are extinct or mythical. You know, the whole thing about dragons being mythical has got to be a lie. I don't understand how not only Wales, but Bhutan both have dragons on their flags yet are on different sides of the world. They never spoken to each other. They couldn't have shared this similar ideology. They existed. But as for the other ones, I'm not sure. They just don't seem realistic. Two-tailed lion, not possible and not practical. A turtle? I'm not sure what that is. What's a turtle? Oh, it's just a large bird. I mean that's feasible, I guess. I think a large amount of these mythical creature sightings in the past were due to the fact that, like, in the 18th century, they didn't really have Specsavers, did they? It's kind of hard to tell what's what when you don't have your prescription. Countries that declared war on birds and lost. Wait, there's a sequel? I didn't know China had one as well. What did they have a war with? Sparrows? They lost to a sparrow. How do you lose to a sparrow? You know how small a sparrow is? Oh, it was because they were eating too much food. I done that at a buffet once. They just prodded me with a fork and told me to get out of the premises, fatty. Don't have to resort to killing. If you had the chance to be born again, which region would you pick? Interesting. If I choose C, then there's a good chance I'm born in the UK, and I don't know how I feel about that. D. If I choose D, then there's a good chance that I'm born on the Shetland Islands, which is also owned by the UK. And I don't know how I feel about that. If I choose B, then there's a good chance I'm born in Bermuda, which is a British territory, and I don't know how I feel about that. If I choose A, then there's a good chance I'm born on the British Virgin Islands, and that means I have to be British. If I choose G, then I could possibly be born on the Falkland Islands, and that's also owned by the British, and I don't want to be British right now. No. If I choose H, then there's a good chance I'm born on the British Indian Ocean territories, which is also owned by the British. If I choose J, then I could be born in Antarctica, which is partially owned by the British. Britain owns the Pitcairn Islands, that's in Polynesia. And if I choose E, there's a chance I could be born in North Korea, in a British embassy. The most commonly used word in each state's Wikipedia page. Actually a very telling map the more you think about it, because obviously the use of the word there, which is a British word, kind of tells you that there was at some point some relation between England and America. Not sure how serious it was, but we can definitely see there was some sort of influence. Something to think about there. Does your state or province share its name with a street in Chicago? Kind of do a similar thing in the UK, except for naming it after states or locations within the UK. We kind of just name it after human anatomy. It's doing really well so far. A flag map of Europe where each country is shown with the flag of the nation it shares its shortest land border with. The more you say on this map, the worse it gets. Iceland doesn't even have the facilities to border with the Czech Republic. Sweden, Uganda, Georgia and Vatican City, Ireland and Pepsi. This is awful. The person that made this map definitely uses glue sticks as smelling salt. You can't tell me otherwise. This is high levels of brain damage. Might be the worst map we've ever seen. Shark named Breton makes a self-portrait using its tracker. Did they really name it after Britain because it was lingering around the East Coast? Just like my ancestors. When you set out to map the world, but remember you're a chap from 1930s Britain. I've seen this map before, I've never included it in a video, but it's one of my favourites. The audacity we had, making a map but increasing the sizes of countries based on how much tea they drink. I mean, don't get me wrong, tea's not bad. It's not enough to be doing all that. Think about how good life would be though if England was truly that big. No need for colonising. And of course, not to mention, if we're on the same longitude as South Africa, unbelievable weather. Costa del Sol, more like Costa del Croydon. Can you legally hunt unicorns in your state? Every month I learn something new about Michigan and it completely changes my perspective on them. If the UK ever gets into another war, I'm telling you now, it'll only be because Scotland sees this map. Fire danger forecast for Europe. I tell you what, this is one map I don't want to see. Being one of the most hated countries in the world and also being one of the most flammable at the same time is... Well, let's be real, you're really asking for it. It must be like the alcohol or something. Just one giant Molotov. How are places like Russia, this part of Europe, even Italy, not that flammable? They're covered in forest. Even Finland. They've got flaming hot buildings surrounded by forests. They should be the worst out of all of them. The most likely colour of your house in Europe. Wow, how does someone even actually figure this out? Actually, I've got a more important question. We really can't let this happen. I like the people of Iceland. It's the landmass I've got a problem with. Do you know how many volcanoes are on that thing? We just saw a map saying the UK is the most flammable country. Now we got a giant Nordic lighter next to us. One eruption. It's over. Country's going to be baking. We'll have no choice but to buy air conditioning at that point. American states without America. People have time to do this. Look what you've done. Half of these just look like Welsh town names, to be honest. Look at Delaware and Maryland. Mississippi's trying to tell you a secret. Florida just looks dumb. And Iowa's hurt itself. How big Wyoming is compared to Europe. I mean, it's kind of concerning. The sheer presence of it is actually causing Ireland to become corrupt. And not even in like a political way, it just kind of looks like it's been consumed by a deep and dark void. But I actually refuse to believe Wyoming is this big. You're telling me it's that big and there's only 500,000 people in it? No, I don't think so. Right, okay, here we go. We can test it. No chance. Countries that have claimed to be Rome's successor. Wow, talk about stolen valor. What happened to just being yourself, man? Out of all the countries that should be able to claim their Rome's successor, Romania actually hasn't taken the opportunity. Humble kings right there. Some people are saying the real successor is Spain. I mean, I don't know. As far as I'm aware, Rome didn't get conquered by the Brits and, you know, Spain on the other hand. Yep. Americans visiting Europe. I don't know, I feel like this stereotype's kind of been and gone now. They're kind of exploring places you wouldn't even think to explore nowadays. I've heard they're even getting as far as Brussels. I tell you what, there was a surprisingly large amount of informative maps in today's video. But of course, there's only so many maps you can take in one day. I think I'm going to leave it there for today's video. If you did enjoy the video, then feel free to leave a like and maybe subscribe as we're super close to 10 million subscribers. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace!